everyone, welcome to Full Moon in Gemini Moon Circle. My name's Tracey and I'm here with Dee.
Hi.
We are from We Knew the Moon, a podcast series based around the moon. And today we are going to be focusing on this up and coming full moon, which is entering the Gemini energy. Today we will guide you through what this means for you, a few hints and tips on some aromas and essential oils that you can use, a few affirmations. We like to do a little bit of journaling practice, and we will also be taking you through a guided meditation as well to harness this lovely energy of Gemini. Dee will be taking us through the meditation today. I'm excited to hear. I don't know
I'm really excited about this one. We've noticed that our meditations are following on so nicely from each other, aren't they? So if you have missed past moon circles and past guided meditations, they are specifically made for that time of the lunar phase and that zodiac sign. But you can use them, you can do the exercises at any time. So please do feel free to go back and listen to some of our previous ones if you want to do different meditations and different guided meditation exercises to do some real proper deep diving. But this one that I've chosen follows on so nicely from the last one.
Does it? We did New Moon in Scorpio, didn't we, Dee? Which was kind of a little bit of shadow work, a little bit of uncomfortable sides. But that's life, and getting to know yourself is sometimes having to tap into things which do take you out your comfort zone and acknowledging things that you perhaps have turned a bit of a blind eye to. So exciting to know that this one follows. We recommend that you find a nice, quiet, comfy, warm space away from distractions. Today, the suggested aromas are bergamot, dill, lemongrass, lily, and peppermint. A nice mixture there, some floral, citrusy, and peppermint as well. It's a nice one.
All very uplifting ones.
Yeah, very suited for Gemini, and we'll explain why later. With these, burn them in a candle, make yourself a cup of tea with them, have them in your essential oil diffuser. Lots of different ways you can incorporate the aromas into your full moon circle today. Also, with the crystals, we recommend sapphire, rhodonite, and turquoise. Again, really nice selection of different ones. Quite expensive you've gone for again, Dee, with the sapphire there. Don't worry if you don't have all of these. Don't worry even if you don't have any. Just go to what's calling out to you. Pick and choose and we make our own rules, Dee likes to say. So do that.
We do what we want.
We do what we want.
But if you do want any of those, apart from sapphire, we sell them on our shop.
Check out our shop, weknewthemoon.co.uk, where you can get all your crystals, essential oils, and lots more. I'm going to hand you over to Dee now, who will take us through the meditation, and then we'll catch up later and go through our guide to full moon in Gemini.
Well, okay, so we need to properly have a little think and a discussion between us, Tracey, about why we've gone down this route over the last few moon circles, because mine is also linked with shadow work. Gemini is obviously the twins, so there's a lot of duality about this. And actually, Gemini, the twins, represent soul and personality.
Do they? That's interesting.
Yeah. And they often fight for dominance. Your soul is much more permanent. There's a permanence about your soul. And your personality is something that can change over time. You know, we've talked many times about how we are very different and we crave different things and different emotions and have different intentions and goals now that we're in our late 30s as opposed to when we're in our 20s. So our soul hasn't changed, our core values, but our personality has definitely changed. Maybe we're less outgoing. Maybe we become more inward focused. You know, maybe we become more homebodies. Gemini represents this sort of battle or relationship, not always a battle, between soul and personality. Your spiritual awakening happens when your identity, your overall identity, shifts from personality towards soul. So when you actually let soul take the lead. The Gemini personality and the characteristics of Gemini can tend to be a little bit unstable at times, as it can flip between these two things, but it's a really curious sign. Gemini really wants to learn about everything, find out about everything, get stuck in everything. So it's a really, really good time to ask if there's anything conflicting inside yourself. And that's why I went down the route of shadow work again, because we're going to be looking at whether you have any of these conflicting thoughts, emotions, feelings, dilemmas in your soul, in your head at the moment, and how can we address them, make them more comfortable. So we are going to be looking at the step back method. So it's actually an exercise used by shadow work practitioners to help people integrate the parts of the personality that make them feel difficult emotions that can then become destructive. So it's a really good way to resolve that conflict, identify and resolve that conflict. This is going to be a bit of a guided journey that will raise a few things. I actually don't think that it's necessarily a guided meditation. It's more of a guided journey. So please do have your notebook with your hand during this and make notes as I'm talking. Everything that comes up, I'll be asking you questions. So make a note of what the answers are for you. It's obviously the kind of work that will be different for everyone. If you don't feel strong enough to do this kind of work right now, that is absolutely fine as well. We would never encourage you to undertake any kind of difficult journey if you don't feel up to it. Maybe you've got a lot of stuff going on. Maybe you are not in the right place to look at some of those conflicts right now. Absolutely fine. Save this journey for another time. But feel free to skip forward past the meditation to when we discuss some of the other activities, questions, and so forth that you might want to ask yourself or do or have around you during this time. So I'm going to get started. Step back method. So I want you to, as Tracey said, find a nice calm place. Make sure you've got your reassuring, comforting things around you. Blanket over your knees if that's, what you feel like doing right now in this time of the year. And I want you to close your eyes. Focus in on your breath a bit because we want to do this in a nice calm state. And I want you to focus on your inner talk. Now, I recently went to a conference and one of the speakers, my favorite quote from her was, she said, "My inner critic is an asshole." So have a think about that. The negative inner talk that you put yourself through, that inner voice is the voice that we hear most often in the whole world. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, a lot of the time, it is negative. And it is so much harsher than we would ever dream of talking to other people. We would never address our friends in the way that we talk to ourselves. When there's something wrong, when they made a mistake or when they have a problem, we don't tell them, "You're a dick. You fucked up. You are the worst person in the world." We tell them, "Don't worry about it. Everyone has bad days. Everyone makes mistakes. How can we fix this? How can we learn from this? How can we grow from it? How can we make this problem go away?" I want you to go forward from this moon circle and try to get in the habit, and it's a habit that needs practice, of talking to yourself more how you would talk to your friends. But for now, have a focus on what that inner talk, that negative inner talk is saying. This may change over time. Maybe right now you're having a particularly challenging time in your relationship or your work, and maybe your negative inner talk is focusing on that. Maybe you're telling yourself, "I'm hopeless, I'm useless, I'm crap." Maybe you're telling yourself, "Why would anyone pay me for this? Why would anyone hire my services? Why would anyone buy my things that I'm making?" Maybe you're telling yourself you're a shit partner. Your friends and your loved ones can do better. Maybe you're telling yourself that you're a bad daughter or son or mother. Where are these negative feelings coming from? What are they saying to yourself? What is that inner critic telling yourself? What is that little asshole saying to you? And I want you to make a note of the ones that are the most prevalent at the moment. Quite often, the negative inner talk, the imposter syndrome, comes out particularly when we're trying new things, because we don't have that backlog of experience doing it. We don't have a backlog of testimonials, of positive comments from our clients, our loved ones. We don't have the experience of a positive outcome. So when we're trying something new, it's much easier to let that imposter syndrome, that negative inner talk come through. Quite often when you're starting a new business or a new job, that is when the inner critic is running wild. So what is yours telling you at the moment? Now, I want you, step 2, to ask that part of yourself, literally have a conversation with your inner talk, with your inner critic. You might, at this point, you might want to name your inner critic. Have a conversation with your imposter syndrome, with your inner asshole, and ask that being why it's saying those things to you. Why do you keep on saying that I'm hopeless? Why do you keep on insisting that I'm going to fail? What makes you think that? Why do you think I'm a bad daughter or a bad mother or a bad partner? Why are you saying this? Now, step 3, this is one of the really difficult bits. I want you to listen to the answer. What is the underlying reason? Is your inner critic actually trying to protect you? Quite often, that is what imposter syndrome is. It's actually trying to protect you from getting hurt, from failing, from being let down, etc. The problem is when it stops us doing stuff that we really should be getting on with, or trying, or exploring. Listen to your answer, because that is the underlying reason why you have these fears. Perhaps your inner critic is telling you that you are going to fail because it doesn't want you to try and to get hurt again. Maybe it is telling you that you're a bad mother because you have been carrying a lot of guilt around. Listen to why your inner critic, your imposter syndrome, Myrtle, as Tracey calls it, why is this inner critic telling you these things? That can be really difficult. That can also take some time. So maybe you don't have all the answers right now. So make a note of what the steps are and keep them in mind and try to go back to them later on if you need to. Step 4 is to watch what your reactions are that come up. Now, this is a great one for shackles on and shackles off. If you remember a few moon circles ago, full moon in Taurus, the guided meditation was Shackles On, Shackles Off by Martha Beck. And what that was, go back and have a listen if you haven't, is to make a note of how your body feels when you think about something or when you have a decision to make. How do the different options make your body feel? Shackles on is when your body feels literally, as you can imagine, like you have shackles on. Maybe you're slumped, maybe your stomach is unsettled, maybe you feel queasy, maybe you feel your jaw clenching, your shoulders tensing. And the shackles off is when you feel light and airy and open and joyous. And, maybe your chest is out and your head is up. Maybe have a think about that shackles on, shackles off, and what that means for you. And whether that helps you gauge what your reaction is when you think about why your inner critic is telling you these horrible things. Does it make you feel angry? Does it make you want to tell your inner critic to fuck off? I'm swearing a lot because we're doing shadow work and I'm allowed to swear during shadow work. Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you feel more scared? Does it make you think, oh yeah, actually I do fail a lot? Does it make you feel down on yourself? Does it make you feel indignant? Like, I'll show you. You're telling me I'm going to fail, but I'll show you. I want you to then, step 5, probe into this reaction. If you were angry at your inner critic, if you wanted to tell your inner critic to fuck off, why were you so angry about it? Is it because it touched the nerve? Is it because you know that your inner critic is not right? Is it because your inner critic is judging you based on a former self? Maybe you were really insecure and not confident and not able to do things in the past, but you did a lot of work on yourself. And now actually you can manage it. You have learned a lot. You are more confident. You've learned not to be walked over, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to tell that inner critic, I'm a different person now. I've grown. So stop judging me and treating me like I was that person from 3, 4, 10 years ago. Maybe you were sad by your inner critic's response. Maybe you felt defeated. Like, yeah, that's right. Maybe my inner critic is right. So think about it. When you think about this, your reaction and why you had that. Now, step 6 is to answer that question. Is it because you have been held back by your inner critic the whole time, by your imposter syndrome, and that's made everything a struggle? Is it because you don't have the confidence to argue with your inner critic? Maybe your inner critic is telling you that you don't have the knowledge to do something or start something or start a new business, for example, or take on a course or go on to do your degree or whatever. And it makes you sad because you feel like your inner critic is right. So have a little think about this, because step 7 is to focus on your reaction and to think of it as another part of yourself. All of these things, your inner critic, your conversation you're having with your inner critic, your reaction to your inner critic, your physical reaction to it, your emotional reaction, these are all parts of yourself. That's the idea behind shadow work. We have these parts of us that we are not too keen on, or we want to deny, or we want to hide. But they're all part of us. We need to acknowledge them and decide how we're going to let them influence us and our decisions and our moods. So we're having this conversation with our inner critic. Chances are our inner critic has annoyed us, angered us, made us sad, made us feel defeated, made us feel worse than we did when we did not have this conversation with our inner critic. So what we do now is to take a step back. Focus on this reaction, focus on this interaction, take a step back and properly analyze it. What is going on here with our inner critic? Is our inner critic as evil as we make out? Now, step 8, and the final step, is to make a note of how we have responded to this interaction. So perhaps you now understand your inner critic a bit more. Maybe we understand that it's actually just trying to protect us. It's trying to mother us, but it's actually smothering us. Its initial response comes from a good place. Maybe we feel sorry for it for having to work so hard to try to protect us. Maybe we feel compassion towards our inner critic. So this exercise is super important in terms of trying to understand that even our inner critic, our inner asshole, we need to treat it with kindness and compassion. We talk about this all the time, don't we? That we have to send, even our enemies, we have to send them love because it's healthier for us. It's better for us. Fuck them. They don't even notice how we're feeling, chances are. But if we send them love, send them positive thoughts, and don't let ourselves focus and dwell on negative energy as a result of them, then it is much healthier for us. The same with our inner critic. We need to understand it, understand its motivations. That's not to say that we listen to it. It just means that it's easier to think kindly on it, to thank it for its concern and for wanting to protect us. But in this case, it's not necessary to the extent that it's going on about. And we get that you want to protect us, inner critic, against new experiences, in case we fail, in case we get hurt. But we have done X, Y, and Z to make sure that this doesn't happen. So I send you love, I send you thanks, but I'm going to carry on my merry way. This kindness and compassion directed to these parts can help us heal and therefore help those negative emotions become less destructive. Because if we let our inner critic stop us from doing what we want, and if we let it hold us back, we will inevitably become resentful, angry, sad, jealous, etc., etc., etc. And those emotions, it's totally normal and human to have them, but if they get out of control, they become destructive, and we don't want that to happen, clearly. Take a bit of time to go through those points. You might need to spend a bit of time focusing on each one of them. It's not easy work at all. It's not obvious. It can take some deep diving to understand where the inner critic's fear is coming from. I think you'll find that if you manage to do this work, you'll be surprised and delighted by the outcomes. That was our step back exercise to learn how to understand our inner critic and send it back love and kindness and compassion and stop it from influencing us. Tracey is going to come in and tell us about different things that are useful to know at this time of the moon in Gemini, full moon in Gemini.
Love that. It's interesting, for the past couple of moon circles at least, we've gone down a little bit of a darker road to guide you on self-realization. We're going deeper. I love that, Dee. The theme for this moon, and some questions to also ask yourself, if you haven't asked enough already, because I'm sure there's pages and pages of stuff that you've gone through with Dee's lovely journaling exercise, is, am I being too fickle at the moment? Now, I don't want to give Gemini a bad rap, but it is very changeable. And the worst energy, it can be very scatterbrained, it can be very confused. But at their best, they're sociable and charming, and it is a very sociable, charming energy. Never quiet, always has something to say. And if you can embrace the full moon's energy in Gemini, hopefully you will tap into a bit of that and use that to communicate, journal, and find a different aspect to yourself as well. It might be time to make some big changes, discuss your thoughts with loved ones, and listen to their feedback. Communication is easier right now. So if there are things that you're holding back, things you're finding hard to say, things you're finding hard to show, use this full moon energy in Gemini. So things to ask yourself: have I been superficial recently? Have I found a balance between my heart and my head? And usually they play around with each other as well, your heart and your head. So you never know which is ruling over which. So it's always good to just take a step back and see what's going on there. Do you understand it? Do you know what's going on? And have you got some sort of balance between what your ego wants and what your heart wants? And do you know which is which? Am I spending time with the right people? This moon in Gemini is all about socializing. Gemini is a real sociable energy and loves to be at parties. Affected organs, Dee. Here we go. Your arms, respiratory system, and nervous system. So middle torso area we're focusing on today. Nervous system, I think, is a really good one to check your anxiety levels. Gemini energy can feel a little bit flippy, a little bit anxious, a little bit scattered, and sometimes that can come across as nervous energy as well. Check that you are taking care of your mental health and well-being, and you're not too stressed or too scattered and unfocused. Aromas. Now, we always say these come in many different forms: teas, baths, candles, essential oils, loads to add to the pot. An interesting mixture for full moon in Gemini, because we start off with kind of your uplifty ones. So bergamot is a really, really nice mood lifter.
It's very, if you're not familiar with it, it's citrusy. It's one of my favorite. And I love, in particular, mixing it with more earthy ones. patchouli or marjoram, or I don't have dill oil, but I imagine that would be really delicious.
We've talked about maybe getting some dill oil, haven't we, Dee? It does come in its essential oil form, but dill, the herb, you could use it in your cooking. Lemongrass is a really nice one as well.
I mean, again, same with the citrusy. It's very uplifting, very a mood lifter. It's also, for those of you that like sort of Asian dishes, it's very common in Asian dishes. So maybe you can treat yourself to a takeaway with some lemongrass in it.
Lily is another one. Buy yourself a bouquet, right,
exactly.
Dee? And then the key one here, which stands out to me, is peppermint. So much can be done with peppermint. Teas, essential oils, massage. Peppermint is really good for the throat chakra. And Gemini is associated with the throat chakra. Communication, air, voice, all of that jazz. And peppermint is the one that if you're struggling to find your voice, find your words, communicate, tap into this energy, have a cup of peppermint tea. And it's good for the tummy as well.
Can I also just say that I learned something recently, which was a game changer. With peppermint oil, it has to be a really decent quality one. My partner and I both suffer from headaches at times, not migraines, but headaches. Mine are very often hormonal based, linked to my period. His are probably just from the stress of being a Gemini and having so much going on in his head. What you do, you have to be a bit careful, but you put a couple of drops of the peppermint oil in your palms and cover your nose and your mouth with your hands. Make a little cup. You want to try to avoid the fumes going into your eyes because peppermint can be really stingy if even the fumes go into your eyes. And then take a bunch of deep breaths. Something about it just clears the sinuses, clears the headache. So the minute me and my partner, we start getting those stress headaches coming on or whatever, we do that. And honestly, I can't tell you how instantaneously the headache is relieved.
Really?
Yeah, game changer.
You might have to try that, Dee. So the element is air. We've talked a lot about Gemini being that sign of air, about communicating. It's an intellectual sign. It's analytical, communicative, curious, and inventive.
Chatty and curious, basically.
Chatty and curious. Tarot suit is the swords, which is logical, reasonable, again, intellectual, impartial, just, and decisive. So we always say with this, keep a lookout if you're doing your tarot cards and this pops up a lot or it doesn't pop up. Ask yourself what it means, particularly with this energy as we're focusing on this kind of theme. Now, crystals, Dee. Sapphire. We've suggested sapphire for a few of our full and new moon circles and joked that it's an expensive one. But I have looked up and you can get low-grade sapphire. So you don't need like your sparkly ring. You can. It's still quite expensive compared to some of the healing stones. It is a bit of an investment, but you don't need that super sparkly, expensive ring to take note and use sapphire. But the reason I want to really plug this on, because we sometimes skip over it because we're like, oh, it's expensive and probably something that not many of us would have. It has a really lovely meaning. And I think if ever it was to be used for a zodiac energy, Gemini's the one. It's for mental focus and order. So that beautiful sparkly stone provides mental focus and order, which I think is exactly what's needed to harness this energy. Rhodonite is a pink stone, not to be confused with rose quartz. Rhodonite is the kind of passionate sort of other side to rose quartz in a way. It's that one that kind of helps you find that thing that drives you wild. And it doesn't have to be in a person, it could be in a job. It's that thing you look forward to in life that really creates an excitement. And also turquoise, which is, I would say, one for deflecting negative vibes. But in this instance, it's a good one for self-realization. The affirmation, Dee, is, are you ready?
Yeah.
I am connected with everyone and everything.
Oh,
which
I
is
love
nice,
that.
isn't it?
Do you
Yeah.
know what? I totally, maybe I'm relating a lot to this Gemini because of my partner who's just typical Gemini. But I sometimes get the sense that his slightly frazzled energy, because he's flitting all the time between different projects and things, and you know what I mean, that I think he does sometimes suffer from a feel of being disconnected, not grounded, right?
Yeah.
So I love that for the Gemini energy.
Focus on one person, focus on one thing. It's a good affirmation to have. I am connected with everyone and everything. Okay, so numerology. Number 2, duality, balance, easily influenced by others, supportive, patient, and shy. So that's what the number 2 symbolizes. A lot of the things that we've just previously said, I think there's another word that I wanted to pick up there, though, which is shy.
Yeah, strange one, isn't it?
And then also the number 5, unique, creative, intellectual, energetic, rational, and grounded. Can also come up in your tarot as well, the numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways that the numbers which symbolize these words can come up in your life, so keep an eye out for them. So happy full moon in Gemini, everyone. Happy journaling for this one, I would say. Enjoy your moon bath. Practice self-care during this time. Don't forget to wash and cleanse your crystals if you're into that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the moon? Moon checklist, moon water. Lots of lovely things you can do with this full moon energy.
Most of all, go out and look at it. One of the nice things about the winter months is that nighttime comes in sooner, so we see the moon more than we do in the summer, which I love.
We hope you enjoyed our moon circle today. Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy full moon.
Happy full moon. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that and you want more from us, why don't you head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/We Knew the Moon, and check out some bonus content.
Also, if you want to stay up to date, you can follow us on our Facebook page at we.knew.the.moon. If you could leave us a review on our Facebook page, that would mean a lot.
Our Instagram handle is the same as our Facebook, at we.knew.the.moon. We're on Twitter at We Knew the Moon 1, and we are also on Pinterest. Just search for We Knew the Moon.
Finally, if you want lots more fun, moon info and all things spiritual, plus our lovely shop, please visit our website, weknewthemoon.co.uk.